My name is David Green. I have been trading for a little more than 30 years now. I worked as a specialist on the Florida New York Stock Exchange, as Reed said, for almost 20 years. I retired at the end of 1999, and I have spent the last 15 years trading, teaching, and successfully mentoring students. My focus, and maybe you could just help me, Reed, if you're watching, how many people out there are active traders? And when I say active, I mean trading actively every single day. Every single day. My specialty, my focus, our focus is on day trading. I am a day trader. I'm going to say about 90% of the trades that we make are day trades. Although what we do and what we use and our technical analysis will work for day trading, swing trading, investing, any of those things. But we concentrate on day trading. I don't know if you've had anyone else on here today that concentrated on that, but that is what we do. I am a day trader. Every time we get involved in a trade, depending on the type of trade that we're in, we try to make between 25 cents and $1. We probably average about 4 trades per day. That is it. We do not get involved in trades until our technical analysis tells us to get involved in trades. We have a chat room that is open all day long. It's called the Green Room for David Green. We have a training lab that we do once a month, which is about 40 to 45 hours of training in just day trading. And then people go from that into the Green Room, and we trade the markets live all day, every single day. Every time we are getting into a stock, we post an entry, we post an exit, and we post a stop order on every single trade that we do. So again, our focus is on day trading. We try to keep things very simple. I'm going to say about 80 to 90% of our trades are based purely on technical analysis. So what I want to do with you guys today for the little bit that we have here is I'm actually going to go over some of our actual trading techniques. Some of our trading techniques. And I'm going to show you a bunch of trades that lined up for us today, most of which worked, but I'm also going to show you a couple that didn't work and how we manage those trades also. I try to keep things very simple, guys. I try to keep things very simple. And everybody can see my charts, I'm going to assume, and I got a big chart of Juno up here. And you can see, as far as technical analysis is concerned, I have 4 things in my chart, and that is all we use. I have 4 indicators in my chart. Our most important technical indicator, and the one that we use the most, are moving averages. Moving averages. And you will see 3 lines in my chart: blue, tan, and yellow. Blue, tan, and yellow. Those are the moving averages that we use. When everybody knows, or maybe if you don't, that moving averages show us support and resistance. Moving averages show us support and resistance. And what we mean by that is they show us where we might want to buy a stock if the moving averages are below where a stock is trading, or where we might want to short a stock if the moving averages are above where a stock is trading. The moving averages that we use, let me just get back to Juno, are a 15 exponential moving average, a 65 exponential moving average, and a 200 exponential moving average. 15, 65, and 200. I know a lot of different people use a lot of different technical analysis tools, and a lot of different people use a lot of different moving averages. And the big question I always get is, why 15, 65, and 200? And the simple answer is, and the best answer that I can give you, is that they work. For what we do, 15, 65, and 200 works the best. 15, 65, and 200 works the best. Of the 3 moving averages, our 15 is the weakest moving average, and we will only use it under certain circumstances. 65 is stronger, and 200 is strongest. The only other indicator I have on my charts is a relative strength index. And relative strength index we'll use only for one of our trades. Only for one of our trades. And depending how many we can get through tonight, it might be the one that we cover in that class. All right, so I want to talk about our first trading setup. Our first trading setup that we do, and I'll show you a couple of examples of this trade working today. And I'll show you some actual trades that we did today. Well, let me just cover that up. Okay, Juno was a stock that we were watching today. A lot of the Junos and Datas and Blues and Kites were all acting, stocks that were acting well today. So first of all, what is a trend in a stock? We define a trend as a stock moving in one direction for a long period of time. For a long period of time. So you can see that clearly Juno opened up early this morning and spent most of the day in a nice, not most of the day, spent all of the day in this beautiful uptrend. So the object of a trend trade is to get into this trend at some point and then just enjoy the stock as it keeps moving up throughout the day. As it keeps moving up throughout the day. Our first rule for a trend trade, is that no trend can be established until at least 9:45. And what I mean by that is just because the stock opens up does not mean it's in a trend. And you can see the first, I'm going to say hour and a half of Juno was very choppy. It was up, it was down, it was up, it was down. No clear trend. And when I show you a few more examples of this, it'll become clear to you guys what these trends look like. So we are watching Juno, and we are in our trading room, and you will hear me say to all my traders, guys, I am looking to enter Juno, a Juno trend trade, if the stock pulls back and hits our 15 EMA. So number one rule, at least 9:45 for a trend trade. Number two rule, we enter a trend trade when it pulls back and exactly hits our 15 EMA. We enter a trend trade when it pulls back and exactly hits our 15 EMA. Now, the 15 EMA is not going to be strong for anything but a trend trade. And you'll see of the examples that I show you how many times that this trade worked and how effective it was. So we're watching Juno. We enter the trade when it hit 42.83 with a limit order. So every time we enter a trend trade, we are entering with a limit order. And we enter a trend trade with our full amount of size. Our full amount of size, whatever that is for you. I like to use an example of 300 shares because we're going to scale out of this in 3 different lots. So I like to use 300 shares, but there are guys in my room that are trading 1,000 shares, 2,000 shares, and 100 shares. You know, I have traders who are just beginning that have been through our labs, and I have traders who've been trading for years that have been through our trading labs. So for examples of this, I'm going to say we do 300 shares. And the first thing we do is put our stop order in below the trend where we got into the trade. So we entered this trade at $42.85. Stop order is always going to depend on the price of the stock. So in a $42 stock, we will give this 40 cents. If this trend is broken by 40 cents, we get out of this trade and we move on to the next trade. We get out of the trade and we move on to the next trade. So we entered this trade at 42.80. Let's just say our stop order goes at 42.40. In a $42 stock in a trend, when we have a 50-cent profit, we sell 1/3 of our stock. When we have a $1 profit, we sell the second third of our stock. And we always hold on to the last 1/3 of our stock until 2 things happen. It's either the end of the day or the trend is broken at some point by 40 cents. A trend trade, guys, will be the trade that we make the most money on. Will be the trade that we make the most money on. Most of our trades that I'm going to show you, of the couple that we can get to, if we can make between 25 cents and $1, depending on the price of the stock, we are in the trade and out of the trade. In a trend trade, it is something that if it works for us, we will stay in for the entire day. We will stay in for the entire day. Here we entered the stock at 42.80. We sold our first lot at 43.30. We sold our second lot at 43.80. And our last lot, we sold at the end of the day at 45.25, wherever it closed. So we made 50 cents, $1, and $1.70 on this trade. So even if you did 300 shares, you made $50, $100, and $170 on this trade. Almost $350. Let me show you another example. I'll show you a couple more that worked. I'll show you one that didn't work. Let's look at, and it doesn't matter whether the stock's going up or down, guys. It makes no difference whether a stock is going up or going down. This is WUBA, W-U-B-A. And I can tell you this, guys, a lot of times as a day trader, I am trading stocks that I have never heard of before. It is not important. It does not matter. It doesn't even matter what the news is in a stock. I don't care about that. If a stock is setting up for us technically and is going to hit one of our technical levels, we are in the stock. It is that simple. It doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter what they do, and it does not matter what the news is. So here's WUBA. And we can see the stock at 9:30, 9:45. This is telling us that it is in a trend. It would have been beautiful if at 9:55 it went up and hit our trend line at 80.41. That would have been a great trade. Very nice. But it didn't. Here is when it hit the trend at 79.76. Let's call it 79.80. We are entering this with a limit order with our full size at $79.80. $79 stop, we'll give it 50 or 60 cents, our stop. So we enter the stock at 79.80, down 50 cents at 79.30, we are taking off a lot. Down $1 at 78.80, we are taking off a lot. And now, in this case, our last lot would have been taken off when it got 50 cents above the trend line here, which I don't even know if it ever did. Let's say it did here at 79.30. At 79.30. And the important thing with a trend trade, guys, is as this trend is moving down, we are lowering our original stop order to follow the trend line. So when this trend finally does break and gets above, our last third of our stop will be taken out when it gets 50 cents above the trend. 50 cents above the trend. So here would have been 50 cents $1, and we probably would have made 50 cents on the last lot. The reason that trends work so well, guys, is because when stocks normally are down, they tend to stay down. When stocks are up, they tend to stay up. Let's look at one more example of this. Let's look at Yelp today. And here is an example. And I'll show you a couple of things in Yelp today. Here is an example of a trade that did not work. It actually did and it didn't. We are watching Yelp. And right here, guys, at 10:20, it goes from 48.60 down to 47.40 and exactly hits our trend line. Beautiful. We are in at 47.60. In this stock, we are expecting to get at least 50 cents to $1. We want this stock to rally off the trend line and go up. Well, guess what? The stock hit 47.44, only went up to 47.74, and came back down to our break even, hung around here, and then broke the trend. When in a trend trade, guys, the stock hits our level, goes back up, but does not take us out of the trade. When it pulls back to that trend line the second time, we get out of that trade break even. So instead of letting this now go down and go 40, 50 cents against us, we just get out of this trade when it comes back and hits the trend the second time. Okay, so here's a case where it didn't work. We tried it, went up, not enough, came back down, we get out of the trade break even. That trade did not work. All right. Let's look at data. Here was another one today. Another stock in the same class as Juno. Here, the stock pulls back. Look how nice this was. To 114.21 and hits our trend. 114.21. Right? 50 cents, 114.71. $1, 115.21. Pulls back to our trend line. Never really broke it until right here, which is where we would have been out of that trade. So again, hits the trend, 50 cents $1. When it finally breaks that trend by 50 cents, we get out of that trade. You will see these setups all day long, guys. All day long you will see trends setting up. And again, these are day trades. Everything we're talking about is a day trade. Look at Green Mountain today. I don't even know if this really gave us a shot to get in it. Let me just get, yeah. Here, Green Mountain is establishing that it's in a nice trend around 10 o'clock. Hits our trend line at about 90.33 and only gets 20 cents above it. And look what it gave us for the rest of the day. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Here is where it got above the trend. Here is where it got above the trend. So very, very powerful pattern. Very, very powerful pattern, a trend trade. An extremely powerful pattern. I would say I'd like to answer any questions about a trend trade, but I can't see your questions. So what I'm going to do, guys, is move on to the next trade. I can tell you this, guys. I am doing a webinar for about 250 people on Thursday night. And if anyone's interested, I'm basically going to go over a bunch of these same things. If anyone's interested, contact Tracy at t3live.com. And she can give you a link to come in Thursday night, and you can see 2 full hours of this. Tracy at t3live.com. Okay? And it'll be a lot better when I can see and answer your questions as we go through these trades. All right, let's see if we can do a couple more. Thank you, Reed. Okay, why do we need 3 moving average lines? That's a great question. It's a great question. So let me put back up Juno. When we talk about the next trades, when we talk about the next couple of trades I'm going to talk about, we're going to see that the only time we ever use the 15 EMA is to get into a trend trade. So the next couple of trades that we talk about, we're going to be 6500 EMA. So that's why we need 3 of them. Okay, the only time we ever use the 15 trade. All right, RSI. How do we use RSI? Also, one of the trades that we're going to talk about, if I have time to do it, is RSI. And what RSI will show us is when a stock is severely over on a short-term basis for us to get into a trade. For us to do a trade. I'll try and show you quickly. I don't want to get into too many of that, but here, if you look at Red Robin today, okay, and if you look when this stock got over 90, it gave us a signal that the stock was going to reverse. That's what we call a far from moving average trade. One of the trades that we also talk about. 15 minutes. One of the questions was, we said we have to wait 1 hour after the market opened before we trade the trend strategy. No. 9:45. Anytime after 9:45 is okay to get into a trend trade. We want to try to get in these as early in the day so that we can enjoy the fruits of our labor for the rest of the day, right? So we want to try to get in these as early as possible. You know, I would much rather get into this trend trade in Juno at 42.80. Even though this worked, you could have got back in it at 44.27, all the way up here at 235, and still made $1 on the trade. But 9:45 is fine. Anytime after 9:45, and the earlier the better. The earlier we get into these trades, the more we're going to be able to take out of them. The more we're going to be able to take out of them. And as far as RSI is concerned, that is going to tell us when we're going to find a nice little reversal in the stock after it's gone too far. Actually, Red Robin was a trade we made today on the short side. Even in Red Robin, guys, look at this one, okay? And this was a trend trade that worked for a little bit. We got something out of it, and then we just got out break even. But the first time it hit the trend down here, look what price this is, 81.40. And the stock went up from there to 82.68. So look, the first time it hit this trend, we were able to get 50 cents and $1 and break even on the third lot. Beautiful. First time it hit that trend, we were able to get 50 cents and $1 and break even on the last lot. Very good question. How do you find stocks to trade using this trend trade? That is a great question. One of the first things I look at in the morning, guys, is my risers and fallers list. Can everybody see that, Reed? My risers and fallers list. So in addition to a group of, I'm going to say about 20 to 25 stocks that are on our normal watch list that we watch every day We are going wherever the action is. Wherever the action is. And when I walked in this morning, the first thing I saw, well, it's 15 minutes after the market opens. Wherever you are, it's 15 minutes after the market opens. Whether you're in California or China, 15 minutes after the New York Stock Exchange opens, it's okay to get into a trend trade. So one of the first things I do, guys, when I walk in the morning, if not the first thing, and Reed, can they see my rises and falls? Can everybody see my rises and falls on the screen? I'm going to assume
Yeah,
you
you're
guys
coming
can.
through good.
Good. Okay. One of the first things I do in the morning, if not the first, is I go right to this list. And it just shows stocks that are up and down the most by dollar amount. And you see RRGB here, up $10.60. Well, it started up $5, $6, $7 this morning. So we were right there. ICPT was a stock we traded today, believe it or not, $260 stock, and we didn't trade it until very, very late in the day. URBN was a stock that we traded today. Just trying to see a few more in here. DWTI was a stock we traded today. PS, guys, as a day trader, although we were almost always focused on equities, we trade a lot of the ETFs. We trade a lot of the ETFs. I trade oil. Right? I trade DWTI, which is an oil ETF. Okay, USO is an oil ETF. GLD we trade, which is a gold ETF. So we trade everything. We trade everything. It's Reed Tracy at T3Live.com. Tracy at T3Live.com. Tracy at T3Live.com. Yeah, we'll probably have 300-400 people in there on Thursday night. And trust me, it'll be a lot better when I can see and answer your questions. But Reed, I appreciate it so much you putting these questions up here. It's great. And you know, I use GoToMeeting every single day. That's where I have what I call my green room. My green room is held in GoToMeeting every single day. So it's just very strange to me why I can't see this. But,
hey, no problem at all. I'm happy to help.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. So anytime after 9:45 is good for a trend trade. Okay, let me try to cover at least another trade or two before we leave tonight. So the next trade I'm going to talk about, guys, and we're going to involve now the 15 and the 65 EMA, and I simply call it a regular moving average trade. And this involves the 65 or the 200-minute moving average. I'll try to get you a couple of good examples of this working today. Okay. This is an example of a trend trade also, because we kind of lost money on this trade and then made it back. So in a moving average trade, guys, we are looking for support or resistance, 5 or 200 EMA. So when the stock is going down and it approaches EMA, we are going to look to make a trade if certain criteria are met. If it's our 200 EMA, again, we're going to be looking to make a trade if certain criteria. First criteria being, Reed asks, are you simultaneously watching any other time frame charts? Okay. Any time we are straying from a 5-minute chart is when there is orders there, and we have to look for another level to find the spot where we want to get trade. So the answer is yes. We are continuously going from 5-minute to 15-minute to 30, 60 to daily charts at times. And I'll show you one of these that hit a daily chart. A stock that was down $50 and bounced off that daily number exactly. The answer is yes. Yes. When we don't have support or resistance on a 5-minute chart, we're using our 15, 65, and 200 EMA. Still using this. So one of the criteria for our regular moving average trade is a stock has to move it from its current price and hit our 65 or 200 EM. And our current price, I mean within the last 15 or 20 minutes. Within the last 15 or 20. Okay? So here we have SWKS at 104.52. Goes down to our 65 EMA, down $1. 65 EMA at 103.40. Again, And we trade during a limit order at the exact price of the 60 EMA. So I'm in a room with all my traders, and I'm saying, guys, SWKS, and again, this real great trend, I want a long period of time. So I wasn't even looking to enter this trend trade here. So I'm watching with all my traders, and all I have to say to my guys is, guys, if SKS hits the 65, we're buying it. Every one of my traders puts an order exactly 103.42 to buy SWKS. Immediately up goes in, say 50 cents below. Usually, guys, on any trade that we do, I'm not giving it more than 50 cents, unless Netflix or an Amazon, which I try to keep most of my guys out of anyway because I don't want them trading. So immediately, 103.42, stop order goes below. 103, I'm looking to make between 50 cents and $1 on this trade. That's it. As soon as we buy the stock at 103.40, we are putting our offers in to sell it. And you can see the stock very quickly, within 5 minutes, went right up to 104.24. Okay, so that's an 80-cent profit. 80-cent profit in less than 2 minutes. And I can tell you that most of our trades that hit our 65 or 200 EMA are going to take minutes, not a longer time. Minutes. Minutes. The reason we didn't get in on the 15 EMA here is because I want the trend to be a longer period of time. You know what? A couple of my guys did try this trend, and it didn't work, and they got stopped out, which is fine. 104.52, you are stopped out on this at 104. You are stopped. Let's say we did that. I'm going to give you guys that one. I did this trend. I bought it at 104.50, and I got stopped out at 104. I lost 50 cents on it. Perfect. I'm going to give you that. We re-enter this trade at 103.52, and now we make 70 or 80 cents on that trade. Perfect, perfect, perfect. But again, keep in mind for a trend, I want a nice ski slope for a longer period of time. But I'll even say we did that one. We lost 50 cents, we made 80 cents. That's fine. We lost 50 cents, we made 80 cents. I'm okay with that. I'm cool with that. That's fine. Okay? So we want to stop to move at least 50 cents from its current price, hit our 65 or 200 EMA. So let me show you a couple more examples of this. Let's look at GWPH. Oh, a pretty high price stock. We don't shy away, guys. When something hits, we make the trade. GWPH we were watching, okay? And again, this was a trend trade that I think a couple of us did. And actually, the first time it hit the trend, which was right about here, it gave us a decent trend and then went back. But here is the trade. And this happened in the same bar, guys. Came down to 113.31 and hit our 65 EMA. And in the same bar, went up 65 cents. In the same bar, went up 65 cents. Perfect, perfect trade. 65, we are out. Comes back to the 65. And here's another thing that we will do, and it's very, very important. If we buy the 65 EMA at 113.32, and we're trying to sell, let's say, 113.80, and it only goes up to 113.50 or 113.60, and we haven't sold it, if it gets back to the level where we got in the stock, we are getting out break even. So basically what I'm trying to tell you guys is we will never turn a winning trade into a losing trade. We will never turn a winning trade into a losing trade. This is a huge mistake that a lot of traders make. They'll buy it here, won't sell it when it goes up, lets it come all the way down, and now turn it into a loser. We will never do that. No one in my room will ever turn a winning trade. Well, I shouldn't say that. We are taught never to turn a winning trade into a losing trade. That alone will save you guys a ton of money. I'm always using the 5 minute time frame if there is a level there to buy the stock. If there isn't, I'm going to show you an example when there isn't now, guys. So if I have a level on the 5 minute, I'm going to use that to get into a trade. Okay? If there isn't a level on the 5 minute, we have to start looking for a longer term time frame, and I'll show you a couple of examples of that right now. Show you a couple of examples of that. Couple of examples. Shaq wasn't a good one, but here, guys. This was a trade that every one of my traders did today, and it was a $260 stock. ICPT. Okay, Reed, I'll try to get through one more if I can. ICPT. The stock was $315, and the stock today was down. I'll show you how powerful this is. $50.48. When do we move the stock to break even? I generally like to do this, guys. If 30 profit in the stock, and then it goes back to my break even, I will just get out of the trade and move on. Okay? So I have a 30-cent profit, and my target's 50. If I don't take the trade at 30 and it gets back to break even, I am getting out of that trade. I am getting out of that trade. So generally, when you have a 30-cent profit or so, if it moves back to break even, just get out of the trade. All right, I want to show you ICPT. This stock, and here, look at this, was first of all a beautiful trend trade up around 283 or so. Right? Look at this stock. 935. It went down to $268 and rallied 15 points from there. 15 points, and then continued to trend down. But we were looking at this stock, trying to find a spot to buy the stock all day. And look on a weekly chart, guys. A weekly chart. Weekly. And we had a level to buy the stock at $260.70. Weekly chart. $260. Now, for those of you who don't know, a daily level is going to be strong, and a weekly level should be much stronger when we're looking at a stock, right? Now this stock has gone from 500, or even from 318 recently, 260.70. I want to show you the low that this stock made today. $260.57. It went below that by 13 cents. 13 cents. This is a trade that every one of my traders did, and we sold it when it hit the trend line at $264. So we made $3 on this trade. It took 20 minutes. But we had to go down to a weekly level to find the support level. A weekly level. So when we don't see something on a 5-minute chart, the first thing I'll do is go to a 15-minute chart as we're looking. Then I'll go to a 30-minute chart as we're looking. Then I'll go to a 1-hour chart. So we'll keep going until we see support or resistance on a chart. Okay, let me try to get through one more trade. Pretty simple one. Pretty simple one. Okay, Urban Outfitters is a stock that we watched today. So I'm going to go to the 5-minute chart, and there's another trade that we do out of a 5-minute chart. Another trade that we do out of a 5-minute chart. And I'm going to call this a base trade, guys. I'm going to call this a base trade. A lot of you guys are probably familiar with this. And a base in a stock basically is a period of time when a stock is going sideways when it is not in a trend. Period of time when a stock is going sideways when it is not in a trend. And you can see that basically Urban is trading between, let's call it 33.80 and 34 for 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35 minutes. 35 minutes the stock is trading in a 20-cent range. In order for a base trade to be valid for us, we want at least 25 minutes of sideways action. At least 25 minutes of sideways action. And we want the range from the low of the base to the top of the base to be no more than 50 cents. So when I see a stock trading in a 20-cent range for 40 minutes, I am looking for the stock to break out of that base, and this could break either up or down. It could break either up or down. So number one rule for a base, I want at least 30 minutes. Number two rule for a base, I want a nice tight range. And number three rule for a base, it can either break up or it can break down. The way we are entering this trade is with a market order as soon as it breaks this base by 5 cents, whether it be up or down. So in this case, the top of the base was 34. When this stock got to 34.05, everyone on my trade is market order. So we're not going to buy 34.05. We probably buy 34.10. Now, this is a stock that traded a ton of volume today, so it wasn't a problem for a lot of us to be involved in this stock. Once we have entered the base at 34.10, very simply, our stop goes at the low of the base. I'm risking 30 cents on this trade. I am risking 30 cents on this trade. In a base trade, our profit target, depending on the price of the stock, is between 25 cents and $1. Between 25 cents and $1. And in a $34 stock, 50 cents is a nice target. So we bought this at 34.10, and we were able to get out of the stock at 34.70 when the stock traded all the way up to this level. And we made 50 cents. Move on, next trade. Do not care what the stock does after this. A lot of our trades, guys, matter of fact, most of our trades, after we've done a trade, unless that same stock sets up for another trade, I am moving on. I am moving on. I am moving on. And look what the stock did here, SWKS, just for another regular moving average trade, 105, pulled back to our 65 at 104, only broke it by 12 cents, and gave us 50, 60 cents on that trade. So another time that the stock hit one of our EMAs and worked. I'll show you one more example of a base trade, because I know we're running short of time. Why? Look at this, guys. All in here. All in here. The stock is not in a trend. It is going sideways between 61.60 and 61.90. 30-cent range. 30-cent range for a long time. It gets above 61.90 to 61.95. All right, so we buy it at 62. We buy it at 62. Stock never came back towards 62 to break even. And we were able to sell the stock for 50 cents. Even on the first pop up, almost went to 50 cents. But here, it got to 62.55, and we took 50 cents out of the trade. So another example of a base trade. So we've talked about a trend trade. Very powerful. Very powerful. You're only using the 15 EMA. Stock pulls back to the trend. We buy. Stop order goes below. We sell a third, and a third when the stock goes up. Regular moving average trade. Again, we're buying with our full amount, but we're not scaling out of this. We're picking our target and getting out of the trade. Picking our target and getting out of the trade. Comes back to break even. Do not let it turn into a losing trade. Do not let it turn into a losing trade. Base trade, the third one that we've talked about. We buy when it breaks out of the base. Stop order goes at the low of the base. We try to take between 25 cents and $1 out of it, depending on the price of the stock. Depending on the price of the stock. I know, Reed, you said we have to stop at 6:20. Is that correct? I am so sorry I didn't have more time with you guys.
Yes, we are ending at 6:20, so you got about 2 minutes left.
Okay, anyone have any questions that you can ask Reed? Trust me, guys, I am not happy that I couldn't see these questions here, but we did the best that we could. Everyone in this room is invited to that webinar on Thursday night. All you have to do is send Tracy an email at tracy@T3Live. It'll be a lot more detailed than this. We'll get through all 6 of the trading setups, and I can answer any questions that you have. So please, 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 email Tracy@T3Live, and we can get you signed up for the webinar on Thursday night. If we can take a couple questions, Reed, and anybody has any, I'd be happy to answer. Just one of the things that we do, guys. Any specials, meaning what? Well, one of the things that we do, I mean, here, I'll show you real quick, guys, real quick. I have a training lab, okay? This is my training. I know you guys are paid. How much slippage do you have? We are about, and this is documented, and you can talk to guys in my group, we're almost 90% between breaking even and making money on our trades. The webinar is at 7 o'clock, 7 to 9. 7 to 9. Just quickly, guys, here's one of the things that I do. And again, if you come Thursday night, I'll talk more about it. I do a live training lab. It is Monday through Friday from 8:15 in the morning till 4 o'clock at night. We spend about 50 hours together. About 50 hours together of live training. Live training. We talk about each individual trader's problems. Every time we enter and exit a trade, we talk about the trade. We go over the 6 trading techniques that I have in infinitum. So this is just one of the things that we do. Again, if you're interested, you can contact me. I am David T3 Live. Webinar is Eastern Standard Time. I am David T3 Live if anybody has any questions. We have been doing these labs for David T3 Live for 5 months now. We have sold out every lab within days of advertising for it. It is only for 20 students. We only let 20 students in each time we have a lab. That is it. And we have a new lab on the 1st of every month. Everyone who has ever done this lab has told me for $800, almost 50 hours of training, it is the best deal that they ever had. Again, something, guys, if you're interested in becoming a day trader or more actively day trading, because that's what I do. That's what our focus is.